This is Wildcat Country.
Larson tipped it. Love has it. Lewis slams it, and Arizona wins it.
The inside scoop on the Arizona Wildcats.
It's Gunnar Maldonado. He's got blockers. Touchdown, Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bear down.
Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country presented by Harrah's Auction Casino. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. All right, it's a losing week. Wasn't great last week, let's be honest. Some of us thought the game would be close. Some of us did not think the game would be close. And now I turn the floor to you, Shane Dale. What do you have to say about things?
Well, I was one who thought it would be close. I thought Iowa State would cover, but I still thought it would be within a touchdown. So my wife and I, we just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary. And so, thank you. And so we were actually out to dinner that Saturday toward the beginning of the game, and I had it set to record. So I went back and I watched as much of it as I could stand, and then some. So I, could get a feel for the game. I watched most of it, but I didn't stomach quite all of it, just to be straight about it, because I didn't either. Yeah, but we got the gist. But yeah, it was. We'll get into it. Disappointing, I think, on a from like on a micro level in terms of what they've done lately. We thought they'd be more competitive, and especially because Iowa State didn't look that good in the first few games of the season, even though they were undefeated. But from a big picture, is it a surprise? No, I think going into the season, most of us would have pictured a result like that, but I think the expectations changed a little bit, and maybe rightfully so after the first three games. But in college football, we reset our expectations every single week, and we did once again last weekend.
Bringing on a first-time guest on the program in the second segment, Pete Mundo from Heartland College Sports.com, a website that I certainly enjoy, and you will too when you check it out, is going to join us. Really good insight, I'm sure he will give us on the state of Arizona football and basketball once again in the second segment of the show. But Shane, it is time for Buy or Sell, presented by our friends at Ice Shaker. Speaking of, Rob Gronkowski is the honorary captain this week in Tucson. Oh, yeah. And his brother, Chris, is the owner of Ice Shaker. He was on this program a few weeks ago. And Shane, you are holding in your hand, for those on the video, the Ice Shaker's newest creation.
Yeah, Chris Gronkowski obviously is the most well-known Gronkowski brother. Chris's brother is this, but yes. So this is their 40-ounce Legacy Series Ice Shaker. It's cool. It's got the U of A logo on the front here, as you can see. Now I don't think they have that license just yet. So Chris made this special just for us, along with the red one here that I'll show you too. I really love the little straw thing here. 40-ounce Legacy, and like you've had ice shakers before too. All these versions, they really do a good job keeping your drinks cold. I know you like to golf, and they keep them cold at 100, 110 degrees, and these do a great job of these as well. So definitely check them out. Now, Chris also said that the handle, I didn't know this is a thing, but if they have like a handle, it's more like considered like toward the female demographic. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but if you have if you're listening, the lady in your life loves the Wildcats or just loves having a bottle like this, or both, then get her one. They're pretty cool.
All right, well, check that out, iceshaker.com. Let's get into it. Buy or sell. Shane, let's talk a little Arizona football. And number one, while the first three games were great, it was false hope. Buy or sell. The Wildcats are exactly what we saw in Ames.
I will sell that as a whole. I think that's an overreaction. Okay. I think where we were at as fans after the first three games of the season was, okay, this team definitely looks better than they did last year, but what does that mean? Does that mean better as in bowl eligible, which would be an improvement, or better as in, lo and behold, conference title contenders? And we got our answer on Saturday. Okay. Now, I expected better. I think you expected better. I'm sure every coach and player on the team did as well. Surprising in the big picture? Not really. I mean, Iowa State is a very good team. I didn't think they were that good, but maybe they turned a corner during the bye week. But going back to are they bowl caliber or conference title caliber? I think you can get to the first one still. I just being good enough to win 6 games. You can get there largely with just great coaching. And I think Arizona has that, compared to last year anyway. I really like this coaching staff. I hope they get to stay together for more than one season. But to get to that next level, you have to have the talent along with the coaching. And Arizona doesn't have that yet. They have a ton of potential, a lot of young players who are going to get better, and partly because of that coaching. But they're not there yet. They don't have an elite wide receiver like T-Mac or Jacob Cowing. They don't have an elite pass rusher. They have some good guys on defense, but not an elite pass rusher. And there's only so much you can do as far as a coach if the talent isn't there, or at least isn't there yet. And I think that's where Arizona is at. I think they're a team that could and probably should still find a path to 6 wins and measurable progress in Brent Brennan's second season. I think they're a very well coached team, but a team that's still not a Big 12 contender, and maybe not even in the top half of the conference at the moment.
So I'm also going to sell this that I believe Arizona is better than what we saw last week. They had a good first drive. They got down there. Michael Salgado Medina missed a field goal. I think something needs to be done there, but that's for another topic. We've already beaten that point ad nauseum.
No, but it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, the pass defense wasn't great. The run defense wasn't bad. I expect to see a better performance. There are going to be games like this. I mean,
Thought the offensive line was still pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, there wasn't as many holding penalties.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rhino played a lot, so I didn't see him in there, but the holding penalties were better.
Yeah.
I just, the thing, and I guess I'm going to segue it into number 2, Shane.
Yeah.
Buyer, so we have a Noah Fafita problem here. No, I don't know problem, an issue. When is the last time that Noah excelled against a big time opponent? Like, I think Noah's a good player. I think he's a wonderful team leader, but I think Arizona has the same problem that the Arizona Cardinals have with Kyler Murray, that he's too short. And when Noah has to back up 20 yards to throw the football, it's not great.
The thing I like most about Noah Fafita, and we had him on our show twice before he ever played a down at Arizona.
Yep, we did.
If you asked him that question to your face, if you ask Noah Fafita, does Arizona have a problem with you at quarterback? It'd be a blunt question, but he wouldn't be offended, or at least he wouldn't project that he was offended. Okay, he's his own biggest critic. I think he's a natural leader. He's certainly been better in terms of his decision making compared to last year still, and I still think he has room to improve and to gel with Seth Diggy. With that said, no, I don't think Arizona has a Noah Fafita issue, but it's possible he does have a ceiling, and that ceiling isn't as high as some of the top quarterbacks in this conference, including the guy Arizona faced last Saturday, and it's not as high as it looked a couple of years ago when he had some of the best receivers in the country. Now, the trio of McMillan, Cowing, and McLaughlin, I'd put up against just about any other trio in the country that year. So look, put it this way. Noah Fafita is not a guy who's going to be able to win games by himself, like some of the best college quarterbacks seem to be able to do, like Khalil Tate did in 1 month in 2017.
Right.
But when you consider how many different coaches he's played for and how many different faces he's had to familiarize himself with at the receiver positions, how he continues to get used to a completely revamped offensive line, which has exceeded my expectations this year, I think it's a little more patience is required. That may sound like a silly thing to say in his third year as a starter, but I think it's a fair assessment. But I also think it's fair to say, yeah, there's probably a ceiling on how good he's going to. I don't know how big a deal the height thing is. I think it's more just an amount. It just comes down to talent in general. I think he's a very good quarterback. Is he going to be a guy who's going to single-handedly lead Arizona to a conference championship? Probably not.
I think Arizona, and I hate to say this, I don't think. Let me start over again here. It might be worth looking into the portal this offseason if Arizona does not reach 7 wins this season. You start 3-0. You have to win 4 of your last 9 games in conference to get to 7 wins, a winning, guarantee yourself a winning season. Then again, you can also make the argument that senior Noah Fafita is not a bad thing, assuming he sticks around. But if you're Noah, I also would think about, all right, I've done the best I can do here. I'm always going to be a legend at Arizona. Do I go play in the Mountain West or the new iteration of the Pac, whatever it is next year? For one of those teams, go to Colorado State, for example, and lead them and try to get them to a bowl game. Braden Locke is not it. So I'm never going to say that He's not. He was not good at Wisconsin. He looked terrible when he played against Weber State. What I saw, I mean, Noah's light years better than from what my two eyes. No offense to Braden Locke, I appreciate he's a fine backup, but I don't want him playing big time if we can help it. I'm just saying for Arizona, you've got, Oscar Rios coming in, tentatively scheduled to come in as a commit. I don't know that he's ready to start right away,
Yeah.
but it's just hard. And Arizona Cardinal fan, Shane, you're one who's having problems with your short quarterback who gets a bunch of balls knocked down at the line and is scrambling around like a chicken with his head cut off at times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that's not an issue. I just don't know if it's the biggest one. Something I was just thinking about. I am interviewing Jake Plummer for my Territorial Cup book, and he said because I remember watching him back in the day at ASU, and because I lived up here in the Valley, and he wasn't very good until his senior year, and then he broke out and had a Heisman caliber season. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Noah Fafita. I remember him saying, look, he said today, in today's world, and this was back in 2011 when I talked to him, said in today's world, I never would have had a chance to start on that team as a senior because people, with social media judgments and everything. And now, of course, with the transfer portal, which was even, since that conversation, he wouldn't have had a chance to get to that point. So I think there's something to be said for sticking with a guy. I mean, imagine think ahead to next year, if Seth Dagy's back and Noah Fafita's back, this will be the first year that Noah Fafita will have had the same offensive coordinator in consecutive years, and the first year that Seth Dagy would be in the same place for more than a year. So I kind of like to see what they could do. With that said, yeah, you look in the portal. I don't know if you're going to find a great veteran quarterback who's going to want to compete with him, and I also have this sense of loyalty that gets me in trouble in football too, because Noah Fafita has been loyal to a fault to this program, and to see Arizona turn their back on him, I wouldn't like. But I understand it's about wins and losses. I get it. But I just the thing that Jake Plummer told me just sticks in the back of my mind, and I don't know if Noah Fafita is that guy, but I don't know if it's it's worth giving up. But we'll learn a lot more between now and the end of the season. We're only a third of the way through the season. And he and Seth Dagy are still getting to know each other in game situations, and then we'll learn a lot more.
Fair enough. We'll start one game at a time. And speaking of Saturday, Shane, I will be there once again. So much for me giving up season tickets to Arizona football, because this will now
be. It's probably cheaper for you not to buy them individually now, the way things are going, right?
Well, and I fortunately I have a good buddy, Steve, who's taken me in his tickets. So, and I'm grateful for that. But I will say this, that thank you for the ticket offers to Arizona football. I did get my tickets for the 2 November games because of that.
Their marketing worked on you. That's good.
Their marketing worked on me. And for the Kansas State game, how many people are you putting in stadium attendance this week at Arizona Stadium? What's the over under that you're setting it at?
Well, now are we talking about the announced attendance or the actual attendance?
The actual.
37,000. Over under, 37.
Oh, in stadium.
Yeah, you think it's gonna be a lot less than that?
Oh my God! If there's 25K, I'd be shocked.
Really?
Oh,
you don't think more people would show up for a day game? Well, it's gonna be kind of hot still, I guess, isn't it?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, next week BYU,
if they win this one, then the 5 o'clock start the following week, they may have over 40, maybe. Of course, a lot of those will be BYU fans, but still.
I mean, I'm just not I'm not sold on how fans are going to show up when it's 95 degrees. I have trouble with that. I hope I'm wrong. Please be wrong.
No, but you're probably right. I didn't even think. I'm thinking because I'm going to be out of town this weekend, so I was thinking about being in a cooler place. But yeah, it's going to be toasty. So yeah, that could be an issue. By the way, did you see the helmets they're wearing this weekend?
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I like them. I think the cactus logo, I think, looks better on the plain white, but I thought they were, because it's like a red glossy look, and I thought they were doing away with that, but no, I like them. I like them. I think I still would like to get a mini version of the white one with the cactus logo, but I dig them.
I like the Sandstorm. I like what they're doing. They're organizing, not organizing, Oregonizing. themselves, and it's a smart move.
No, they can organize themselves on the field too. That would be great.
Thank you, Shane. Now that we've seen each team for 4 to 5 games, give me your revised. I'm giving you a chance here.
Oh boy.
Give me your revised Big 12 championship game. I'm sure I'll ask you this multiple times throughout the season, but giving you a chance.
Yeah, I feel like this is a chance to curse whatever team I'm going to pick. So that makes me want to pick ASU. Well, my original, I will admit it, was Kansas State and ASU. Kansas State's good. They'll be better by the end of the season, but they're not going to win the Big 12. Texas Tech and the ASU Iowa State winner on November 1st, which I would lean Iowa State at this point. So I guess but look, ASU's their defense is legit. They're by far the best team in the Big 12 at pressuring the quarterback. And so far, their season's really played out almost exactly like last year did. ASU last year, they kept finding ways to win while they were figuring things out. Then they were dominant the second half of the season. And I feel like they're kind of doing the same thing this year. So, but if Iowa State looks as good as he did against Arizona, and I'm hoping it's more that Iowa State was great, that Arizona was putrid, and we'll find out more this weekend, then Iowa State, that's definitely a game that they could and probably should win. So I would lean Texas Tech, Iowa State, or Texas Tech, ASU.
I'm sticking with what I gave you before the season. Texas Tech, Utah.
A rematch.
I'm going to give Utah a mulligan. They're going to blow through teams.
Yeah.
They're going to dismantle Arizona State next weekend at home. And Utah will find a way with 2 losses into the Big 12 championship game. I'm not buying Iowa State. Okay. Iowa State's not bad. Their schedule isn't bad. But if Iowa State wins at Cincinnati, I may change my mind a little bit there, but I still think Texas Tech and Utah. I'm feeling good about my pick, Shane. But Texas Tech looks to be the class of the Big 12.
They do. And they are showing that that you may be able to buy a conference championship in the Big 12.
Yes. I wish Arizona basketball felt the same way. We're going to talk our picks for all the Big 12 games later in the show. But before we move on to our guest, it is time for one of my favorite parts each week. It is Shane's standouts. What do we have this week?
Well, I just saw this as we're recording here on Wednesday night. So I'll start with Austin Wells, who had the game-winning single for the Yankees against the Red Sox to win Game 2 in that series. Don't really care who wins that series. I'm definitely not a Yankees fan, but I'm an Austin Wells fan, and so.
But we also have a Robert Refsnyder plays for the Red Sox.
That's
so we
true.
have there will be an Arizona alum winning this series one way or the other.
That's true. And Refsnyder used to play for the Yankees, so yeah, there's that subplot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so congrats to Austin on that. A couple other guys, or one guy, one gal, or 2 gals. We had Colton Smith on the show a few months ago, but we might need to have Jay Friend on soon. He's another star on the men's tennis team. He just won the ITA All-American Championships title in Tulsa last weekend. He defeated 3 top 10 national players to win the title. It's kind of like Arizona going through 3 number 1 seeds in '97. So Colton may be moving on, but Clancy Shields' team is still in good shape heading into next season, and Jay is a big reason for that. So congrats to him.
Can I just say this? The fact that Clancy stayed is a huge boon for Arizona.
That's awesome.
He's a phenomenal coach. What he's done with that program, churning out some really good players. Colton Smith, Jay Friend, as you mentioned, and gotten them to the Elite 8, I think he did of tennis, or I think
Sweet
it was
16 a couple times, but yeah, I mean, obviously, look, men's tennis isn't the big draw, but it's awesome to see an elite coach stick around, and
sure.
I love having those sports to root for, but I love following the sports that most other people don't, just to say that I was kind of there when it happened, but no, it's awesome. He's doing great. Jay Friend's doing great, and so congrats to him. Glad Clancy stuck around, and hopefully he'll continue to. And then last thing I'll mention, shout out to sophomore Marissa Arnst and freshman Maria Stevenson.
Okay.
For both scoring. They both scored their first ever collegiate goals in the Arizona soccer team's 3-1 win over Oklahoma State last weekend. Wildcats are now 2-1 in Big 12 play and 7-4 overall. They shut out UCF a few days before the Oklahoma State win. Aurora Gaines scored the only goal in that game. So, one of the coaches we haven't had on ever is Becca Moros, and that needs to change. She's doing a great job with the soccer team. They've got a couple of road games coming up at West Virginia on Thursday and at Cincinnati on Sunday. So best of luck to those ladies.
Yeah, and we like Becca. She
Yeah,
is. We had a nice chat with her at the May event in Scottsdale, so it's
we
good
did.
to I like her quite a bit. Hey, Wildcat fans, are you ready for your VIP moment? Harrah's Auction Casino is giving Caesars Rewards members the chance to win the ultimate VIP me getaway. Now through the end of the month, October 31st, your weekday play earns entries for the chance to win two-night stay, $250 in free slot play, $1,000 for dining, spa, shopping, and more, plus round-trip transportation. Play all week long and catch us each Friday for your chance to win your exclusive Caesars Rewards destination. Harrah's Auction Casino is the only local casino offering the only card that gets you to over 50 destinations. With Caesars Rewards, your play earns perks that can be used at any of those destinations nationwide. Check that out. Our friends at Harrah's Auction Casino, and we are always glad to have them as the primary sponsor of Wildcat Country. Coming up next, a new guest on the program from Heartland College Sports. It's Pete Mundo here on Wildcat Country. Shane, it's time for a first-time guest on this show, and I am stoked to bring on Pete Mundo, who is I believe the founder and owner, easy for me to say, of heartlandsports.com, a website that I love for everything Big 12. You guys have it on the site. Absolutely love it. Start off with this one. Where would you put Arizona among the 16 Big 12 teams? Where would you put Arizona football this year in your personal Big 12 rankings?
Well, in my power rankings, and I appreciate you guys having me, I had him at 10th this week. Now, I had him as high as 5 early in the season, and I do it based on what you've actually done so far. So that Iowa State loss, I thought they had a chance to cover, and we know how that game went. It wasn't close from the start. It just was totally out of hand early on. So I had to move them down a few slots. Now, I think they can work their way back up, but I have a lot of questions coming out of that Iowa State game. I know that's a top 15 team in the country, but if you're an Arizona fan and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is the year, can we shock Iowa State in Ames? That's a tough place to play. That place was rocking on Saturday. But still, you come out of that game with, I think, more questions than you wanted to have when you went into it.
I agree with that, Pete. And thanks for joining us, like Eric said. And I think, I didn't pick Arizona to win. I certainly, and most fans, I think, based on the first 3 games of the season, thought they would at least be more competitive, partly because of how Arizona looked and partly because Iowa State, they were undefeated, but they didn't look that impressive for a good chunk of their schedule as well. You said you got some questions. What are some of the biggest ones on your mind for Arizona going forward?
Well, and you guys have obviously a much better feel on the program as a whole. As a Big 12 guy who's been doing this for over a decade, I never thought I'd be covering the Arizona Wildcats, but this is just the lay of the land that we have right now in college sports. So I remember Arizona comes into the conference a year and a half ago now, and we're all thinking, wow, I know Jed Fish is gone, but all the big stars are back, McMillan, Fafita. Man, this offense can be explosive. It can be one of the best offenses in the Big 12. Do they have the best quarterback in the Big 12? And Fafita just looks like a shell of what we saw on the highlight reels in that last year in the Pac-12. And now you think, okay, can Seth Doege be the guy that gets this whole thing figured out? And at least based on last week, when they're playing one of the better defenses in the Big 12, there's very little evidence to suggest that side of the ball is figured out. There's actually some good news on the defense. The rushing defense has been pretty solid this year and kept Iowa State in check. Now, I think some of these numbers are skewed because you play Hawaii. That's a big passing team. You're up big in some of these games. I think some of those early season stats can get skewed a little bit. But for me, it's more about the offense and what I'm not seeing on that side of the ball. And you just wonder if there's ever a chance it can return to that 2023 form. But maybe it can't. You guys probably have the answer to that better than I do.
Well, I wish I had the answer, but no T-Mac, no Jacob Cowing, no Tanner McLaughlin. Those are tough guys to replace. But sure, obviously Noah Fafita just hasn't been the same guy as he was a couple of years ago. Looking ahead to the rest of the season, I think. And this is nothing groundbreaking, but I think that in college football, you got to have the coaching and you got to have the players. And I think Arizona has the coaching, at least this year, more so than last year. I like Seth Doege. I like Danny Gonzalez. I like the additions they made at the assistant positions, including Joe Salavea. I just think that one thing that I took away from the Iowa State game is that the talent just isn't quite there yet. Whether it's, they just don't have the guys yet or the guys on the team just aren't developed yet. So Where do you think? Because I think Arizona's there with the coaching, but the talent is it's just not quite arrived yet.
Well, it's not, but you look at the schedule for Arizona, and with the Big 12 now being 16 deep, the schedule matters. Strength of schedule makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And you look at the schedule and you say, Oklahoma State this weekend, you're a 20.5 point favorite right now going into that game. Then it's BYU, but you get them at home. Houston, Colorado, Kansas, Cincinnati, Baylor. Technically, you go down that whole stretch as of right now, you've only got Arizona State at the end of the season. That's a ranked opponent. So you're missing some of the better teams. No Texas Tech on this schedule, which is obviously a team that I think is right now the best in this league. So there's a patch of games there in the middle where I think we'll find out whether or not this season is going to be, let's say, 4-8, 5-7, or if this team can get the bowl eligibility. And if they can get the bowl eligibility for Brent Brennan based on how last year went, that is definitely a step in the right direction. And I can find 3 more wins on this schedule. It may include an upset or two, but I think you look at Oklahoma State, you look at Colorado, and then you just got to snag one more somewhere along the line. So I agree there's a talent issue there, but if Brent Brennan gets this team the bowl eligibility, you feel a lot better in the offseason than you did, let's say, a few months ago.
First of all, Pete, I want to apologize. Earlier on in the show, I said heartlandsports.com. This is what happens when you have it bookmarked and you just click on it. It's heartlandcollegesports.com. So my apology there.
You're
Now,
not the first one to make that mistake, so please don't sweat it.
this is what happens when you bookmark a page because you go to it. And I love the game predictions. Keep those coming. Your staff does a great job writing those up. Thorough predictions each week for every Big 12 game. So really appreciate what you guys do there. So you talked about the floor for Arizona. Seems like 6 wins. In your opinion, how crazy is it to say the ceiling is 9 wins? Is that over the top? Is 7 the ceiling? 8 in Europe? Shane's giving me a look here. In your opinion, what is the ceiling for Arizona football in 2025?
7. The ceiling is 7. The floor to me is if the thing totally collapses. Like, I think it's a pretty small, because of what we just talked about with the talent, the talent dearth that exists. I think the floor and the ceiling are pretty close to each other with this team. I mean, I'm going to say the ceiling is 7, the floor is 5. Like, it just feels like a 5 to 7 win team.
I agree.
If you're going to get to 8 wins, I mean, you're talking about then Oklahoma State, Colorado, and then you got to pick off 3 more. Is it Kansas? Is it at Cincinnati, at Houston? I mean, they're getting better. We've seen Houston really get a lot better from last year under Willie Fritz.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati just beat KU on the road. They've got Iowa State this weekend. They're favored against a ranked team for the first time in the Scott Satterfield era. And then it's like you want to roll the dice against Baylor or Arizona State to end the season. So you've got to find a win, and that's if I'm given Arizona, Oklahoma State, and then at Colorado. And I don't think Colorado's very good this year, but Folsom Field is a tough place to play, at least as long as those fans are engaged and on the Coach Prime bandwagon. So I just look at this and I say 4 feels really easy to me starting this weekend, and then 5 feels fair. But getting 6, 7, 8 would be tremendous. And I'm just not going to get there. If you get to 7 and 5, you've got to feel great based on the talent of player that you have right now with this roster.
I look at the schedule, though, and I say there's no Texas Tech, there's no Utah, there's no TCU. In my opinion, you can make an argument that those are 3 of the top 4 teams in the conference. You obviously Iowa State's in there. You can ASU's probably in there. I just don't look. I actually look at Cincinnati and I say that's a game that I don't see Arizona winning under any circumstances. Even ASU, I could make an argument, but that's for another story. But that's fair. Between 5 and 7, if Arizona wins 7 games, we're thrilled on this podcast. Everybody, pretty much that's listening to the show, is going to be thrilled. Now, I want to segue to basketball here for a second. This conference is loaded. Arizona's second half schedule is loaded. I ask too many people this, and Shane rolls his eyes every time I do it. Arizona's scheduled aggressively, very aggressively in the non-conference. Is that a mistake, considering they're going to lose at least 5 or 6 games in conference?
It's not, because look at what Cincinnati did last year. They had a very easy non-con. They were, I think, ranked towards the end of December. and then they get to Big 12 play and they just got their doors totally blown off. And, I think that in college basketball, it's such a long season. I mean, you're talking about a non-conference game maybe being the difference between, I mean, unlikely it is, but maybe your non-conference schedule is the difference between being a 4 and a 5 seed, depending on how it breaks. Like, this league is defined by what happens from January up until the Big 12 tournament. So I don't mind a tough non-conference. I think it actually prepares you for, yes, what is a grind of a season in the Big 12, but there's no evidence that I've seen that suggests a soft non-con then sets you up to actually succeed in the Big 12. Because I remember Cincinnati last year, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and they get to league play and they totally laid an egg. So, you know what? I think you ride this thing with the non-con. The big thing to me in the non-con is not having too much travel, because this league now is basically coast to coast. You got Orlando, you got Morgantown, you got Provo, you got Tucson. It's the travel that gets to you as much as anything else. So if I'm thinking about my non-conference as a coach in college basketball, especially in the Big 12, I'm not as worried about the competition level. I'm more worried about making sure I'm not crisscrossing the country and wearing my guys down before I turn to January 1.
All right, back to football, Pete. Two more for you. I feel like you're not a true college football fan unless you have this constant feeling of dread in the pit of your stomach, and Arizona football fans have that in abundance. This Oklahoma State game, people are going to get angry at me, but what else is new? It actually concerns me because Baylor. I'm glad you're muted right now, Eric. Look, OK State held Baylor. It was a one-score game in the fourth quarter against Baylor. And I'm kind of biased because I remember when Arizona fired Mike Stoops in the middle of the 2011 season, and then they came out and whooped UCLA the next game with an interim coach. Sometimes that lights a fire under your team. The defense, I think Oklahoma State's defense is wrecked. I think just they had another D lineman enter the transfer portal, but their offense concerns me a little bit. Am I crazy to think that Oklahoma State might actually be competitive in this game?
Well, I don't think you're crazy, not because I'm picking the Cowboys to win. Now, I like them to cover the 20.5. That's just a massive number.
Yeah.
But, to your point, Zane Flores, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, is the backup to this guy, Hoss Haney, who lit it up in the first game, got hurt. But Flores was in a quarterback battle with Haney until the end of camp. So he's not a true backup. He almost won the starting job. He's got a big arm. He's not a guy that's going to beat you on the ground. He's a guy that has a big arm. And I think that if Doug Meacham, the interim head coach who was the OC, if he's going to basically let him rip it, this is the week to do it. This is the defense in many ways that he's got to challenge and try to do it against in Arizona. And you've got, yes, a team that is totally upended without Mike Gundy on that sideline for the first time in 25 years when you count his time as an assistant coach. They also fired the defensive coordinator this week in Todd Grantham. They did lose, as you mentioned, one of their top defensive linemen, Demarion Thomas, to the transfer, or technically he's redshirting, so he's going to hit the portal. So all those things matter. But just based on what I saw last week from Oklahoma State, Baylor's a really good offense. Their defense isn't all that good, but they got a great offense. And Oklahoma State kept up with them. Like you said, I mean, this was a fairly competitive game based on Baylor being a 3-score favorite going into it on the road. Oklahoma State showed fight. The coaching staff was into this game. The fan base had their back. Now, yes, this time they're going on the road, but I don't think it's nuts to have concerns. I mean, listen, if you go 3-9 last year, even if you're 3-1 this year, I don't think you can really take any game for granted. And this conference has proven to be a league that on any given Saturday, it's cliche, but we saw it last year. Last year, the Big 12 was upside down. The teams that we thought were going to be at the bottom finished at the top. The teams that we thought were going to be at the top largely finished at the bottom. Arizona State picked last. They go to first. BYU, Colorado, all picked at the bottom. They end up at the top. On the other side, Utah, Oklahoma State, Arizona, they were all picked to maybe win the Big 12. They were near the bottom. So I would not sit here and say this is a game we're going to coast to a win in. But, I think you should expect to win this game based on how these two programs are set up right now and being at home.
I agree with the expectation part. What's your, give us a score prediction? Because Eric and I make our predictions in the last segment. Give us your score prediction and maybe one or two keys to the game.
Well, for me, I'm going to roll with Arizona winning this game on Saturday against Oklahoma State. I'll take them something like 35 to 24. So I do think the Cowboys comfortably cover. But for me, it's all about uh, Oklahoma State trying to get the offense going. But ultimately, I just like Arizona in this spot. And I actually was doing some previews on this game. We've got a YouTube channel where we give you a preview and a pick for every game. So I was looking at this game earlier. And, you know, for those who are betting fans, this is what makes me nervous. 92% of the tickets in this game are on Arizona, and the line hasn't really moved. So that tells me there's a lot of wise guy money, as they call it in the business, on Oklahoma State to cover this massive number. But listen, this is the best of both worlds. You can roll with Oklahoma State if you want to, plus 20.5 or 21, whatever the number is at this point. And then you can say to yourself, well, I feel good about Arizona winning. And Arizona fans should feel good and should expect this team to win on Saturday. So the big concern for me right now is that Oklahoma State's defense is just not any good. And that's where I think Arizona State is going to be able to take advantage. I look back at some missed opportunities they had in that Kansas State game. They should have won that game by more looking back on it. Iowa State's got a really good defense, especially in the front seven. They were a little weak in the secondary. Arizona couldn't really take advantage of it. But I think they'll be able to do that against Oklahoma State. I think they'll get that push up front. And I like Arizona in a fairly comfortable win on Saturday at home against the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Shane, you better not be picking Oklahoma State. Wait, you better. We'll talk about it in the next segment. You're on mute there, but yeah,
we'll get to it in the last segment.
I'm actually getting concerned after watching this segment. All right, Pete, I got two last ones for you. This one's kind of a double barrel question. Okay. Where will Arizona's football's last game be played? That's last game of the season. Shane and I made our predictions at the start of the year. Obviously, they close in Tempe in the regular season. So if they were to make a bowl game, where would you predict that they end up? And secondly, where do you think Arizona basketball ends up in the Big 12 standings come March, pre-Big 12 tournament?
Oh boy. Well, I never want to cop out on an answer, but I'm really not a bowl aficionado. So
fair, that's okay.
It's just,
okay.
You
think they'll make a bowl game though? You're sticking with six.
No, I think they're getting to a bowl game.
Okay.
Where they end up, I admit that is something that is not on my radar. But if for Arizona, they get to a bowl game, they should be thrilled. Could it be the Liberty Bowl down in Memphis? I mean, that's always a good Big 12 bowl
Not going there.
Sure. That's a good one. But, I also know they try to make these bowl games, obviously, fairly convenient for the fan base. So maybe it's, the bowl they play in Dallas, the Texas Bowl, I think they play down there. That's in Houston. So that may work for you guys. That may be a bowl too good, to be honest, based on 6-6, which is what my prediction would be. But a Liberty Bowl, something like that. What did you guys pick for that one?
I had the LA Bowl. And Shane had said previously that there would be no bowl games. So I
had Tempe. I had them winning 5 games. And I've revised that probably to 6 now, but certainly not any higher than that after what we saw.
What did Eric? You didn't have them in the college football playoff?
I did not. Believe it or not, Pete. I had to stop being a homer. I said 6-6. Give me the LA Bowl against some crappy Mountain West team. One thing I do like, the Holiday Bowl is one of the last games played. It's on January 2nd. This year, it's in San Diego. That I would like to see.
Pete, all you need to know about Eric is he was looking in the Rose Bowl tickets when Kevin Sumlin got hired.
Now, and that reminds me, are they still tied to Pac-12 bowls for one more year?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay.
I was trying to remember that as well, but yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
So and then we'll see the new tie-ins next year with different bowl games. But that's why, now the Liberty Bowl, you never know. I mean, Arizona played in the Independence Bowl one year because there was an overflow of Pac-12 teams.
The Advocare V100 Bowl, as it was known that.
So it's the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. But yes, Thank you, Shane, for correcting me. All right, how about Big 12 basketball, Pete? Where do you have Arizona ending up?
Basketball, I'm going to put them right now. I'll say 4th.
Wow.
In the Big 12 right now. I mean, if I was just to do a preseason power ranking off the top of my head, it would look something like Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, And then I would lean into Arizona, KU, Iowa State, Baylor. I think you
Okay.
could mix up that order on that second tier.
No
But I think
ASU?
Arizona's at the bottom of that first tier with some combination of Houston, Tech, and BYU.
We know ASU's at the bottom, Shane. Come on.
Well.
I mean, we know that. Pete, last question for you. We really appreciate you coming on Wildcat Country. Tell us about Heartland College Sports. What can our listeners expect to find on the site when they click on it often?
Well, I mean, we've got feature pieces every day on the site from our group of columnists. We've got all the latest Big 12 news. We put up, as you mentioned, Eric, previews and predictions for all the big games every single week. And then we also have forums on there where we're kind of growing that. Big 12 fans from all the different fan bases are hopping on the forums right now. And we're just kind of talking smack, a little smack, but it's a real community that we're building there on the forums. And we've got the YouTube channel on the podcast. So you just search Heartland College Sports on YouTube or on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, and you can easily subscribe to our show there as well. I host that myself, and we do about 3 episodes a week. We do previews, reactions, power rankings, mailbags. So we do it all over at Heartland College Sports, covering the Big 12. And I will say, with all the Big 12 schools that are changing places and all the new teams we've got in, the Arizona, to me, and I'm not just saying this to butter you guys up, I really feel like that football program is a sleeping giant. And I'm sure you've been saying that for 2 decades there. Yep. But I would love to see Arizona football get to the level of Arizona basketball. I think that would be great for the Big 12, especially now with Arizona State doing its thing. I would love to have those 2 programs in a fantastic spot moving forward. So let's see if we can do it under Brent Brennan.
Well, remember, Keanu Reeves gave him a shout out in Speed, but that was 35 years ago. So,
yeah, that's
well,
right.
Pete, one thing about Shane is he's written 2 books on the Arizona State rivalry. So we're just trying to find a way for him to write a third. So we do need another chapter of this rivalry to actually be good. We need the Wildcats not to lose 70-7 and win more than once every 5 years.
Well, that's the problem is rarely are both teams good at the same time. 2014 was the last time both teams were ranked. The time before that, you got to go back to the Reagan administration, 1986. Wow. So that is one reason why that particular rivalry is definitely not the most well known in the country.
Pete, great to catch up with you. Thanks for joining us here in Wildcat Country, and we'd love to have you on again during basketball season.
You bet. Eric, Shane, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Discover more Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino.
Hi, folks. Here are your drinks.
Where having fun means racking up reward credits with the Caesars Rewards loyalty program that can be redeemed for food, free play, hotel stays, and more. Not only here in the city of Maricopa, but also at more than 50 Caesars properties coast to coast. From Harrah's Las Vegas to Caesars Palace in Atlantic City. What are you waiting for? Play for All at Harrah's Auction Casino, the official sponsor of Play.
All right, Shane, I was giving you some crap during the show with Pete, saying, I could see your cynicism when it came to Arizona, Oklahoma State. Now we're gonna go through our picks. After listening to Pete's breakdown, did that change anything in your mind about Arizona, Oklahoma State on Sunday?
No, I thought it was a solid breakdown, and I generally agree with his analysis. But Pete was great, and we'll have to have him on again sometime soon. I mean, I'm a little closer to it. I'm biased. He's unbiased, and I definitely would be fine if his prediction panned out. But no, my mind hasn't changed.
So last week we did a lot of games. We had our buddy Blair Willis on the show. He got 6 points. I got 9. You got 10. You are now up on me by 3 points, Shane, in our picks.
And I think that's the third week in a row I've gotten more points than you.
You have. I really this afternoon in advance of the show, I studied more because I said we have to stop this.
See, that's that's the key. Don't study. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament picks. The March Madness. You just pick them based on team color or whatever, and you'll do better than actually going through the nitty gritty stuff.
This is what happens when I'm not doing doing research for a show every week like I had the last 2 years, and that's why I was doing well with these.
Is that what the problem is?
I'm gonna say that's what.
What happened to the People's Capper, Eric?
The People's Capper. We're on the side here. I appreciate everybody at Sportsline, but yeah, we're taking a little break from that for a reason.
For reasons.
Pay your people. Pay your people. If you're an employer, pay your people. Okay, give me an upset special, Shane. An underdog who has a chance to win the game outright? Who you got?
I am going to take Temple as a 6.5 point home underdog against UTSA. I like taking those slight home underdogs.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward thinking. Temple's coming off back-to-back losses to a pair of very good teams. They're back home. I like their senior quarterback, Evan Simon, who's yet to throw an interception this year. UTSA's 1 point win at Colorado State isn't looking quite so impressive after my upset special last week, which was Washington State over Colorado State. And Washington State handled them pretty easily. So I'm going to take Temple over UTSA in the game of the week, Eric.
I don't know about that if it's the game of the week, but I'm going with Cal at home. What is it, like a 10:30 Eastern start? They're playing Duke. They're getting 3 points at home. Cal, that inexplicable loss at San Diego State the other week. Of course, they come back and beat Boston College on the road just because that's football for you. I think Cal takes care of business as a home underdog and wins outright. Cal with a true freshman quarterback, fairly impressive. So I'm going to take the Golden Bears there to beat the Blue Devils. All right, Shane, got a couple of ranked versus ranked matchups. This is not one that I would have put at the beginning of the year. Vanderbilt is at Alabama. Crimson Tide coming off that big win at Georgia, and they are giving 10.5 to the Commodores. Which side are you going with?
You ever watch the SEC shorts on YouTube?
I have seen them, yes.
They're the Vanderbilt guy. Anyway, check it out if you have a chance.
Okay.
Alabama's back on track. I was wrong about them last week. I'm sure the guys who played Vanderbilt last year with Alabama, I'm sure they've had this game circled on their calendar for a while. They got embarrassed last year out of nowhere. Vandy looks like a top 25 caliber team. Their ranking is deserved. I don't think they're getting enough points for me to take them here. I think Ty Simpson continues to look the part. Bama's at home. I think they win by at least a couple scores.
I think so too. Listen, it's been a nice run for Vandy right now, but I think they're going into a tough spot. And plus, Alabama owes them some payback after losing as the number one ranked team in Nashville last year. This one is personal to my family. My parents are Hurricanes. Miami is number 3 in the country, and they are 4.5 point favorites at Florida State. Shane, I hate to do it. My parents are not listening to this podcast, I'm fairly confident. And I think Florida State is going to upset Miami just because Mario Cristobal's a terrible coach. And he's a great recruiter, terrible coach. And this is a game that Florida State wins coming off that epic field storming against Virginia last week when they fell in overtime.
When we saw all the fans waiting to storm the field for like 20 minutes, did you give you flashbacks to the Arizona-Oregon game in 2000?
I am traumatized when I see fans on the field because of what happened the way that went down in 2009. Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking that the whole way.
It triggers me. Yeah.
I was there too. I get it. I'm a bigger believer in Miami than you are, but if Florida State had beaten Virginia last week, I would probably take Miami and not think twice. But I think the Seminoles, I think they're legit. I think they'll have had a week and a half to stew over that loss before this game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think probably a field goal either way. So I'm kind of going against my gut because I really like what Miami's done so far. But I'm going to take Florida State to cover and have it be a field goal one way or the other.
I think it will be a fun game, but I'm hoping my pick is wrong. I really want Miami to take this one home. West Virginia is having a rough go of it with Rich Rod. There will be better times for him. This is not going to be one of them. No. At BYU laying 18.5 in advance of coming to Arizona next week. I think the Cougars win this game going away. West Virginia, too many injuries. What do you say, Shane?
Yeah, easiest pick of the week for me. West Virginia had that feel-good moment after they beat Pitt in the backyard brawl. Happy for Coach Rodriguez and how pumped he was after that game. But since then, it's been a big return to reality for them. He's still got a lot of rebuilding to do. I think BYU wins by at least 3 scores.
So this is the weirdest line of the week that I saw. Iowa State comes off that win against Arizona. They're ranked. Cincinnati, I correctly picked them at Kansas.
I was wrong about that one.
That was one of the few that I got on you. Very, very rare occurrence these days. Cincinnati is a 1.5 point home favorite against Iowa State. Which way are you going?
It's a tough one because I don't think either team is as good as it might seem right now. I'm going to lean Iowa State in the belief that they really hit another gear over their bye week, and Arizona isn't just that bad. Great win for Cincy at Kansas last weekend. Great game. At this point, I think Rocco Becht and the Cyclones keep it rolling for a while longer, so I'm going to take Iowa State.
I am actually going to be on the other side here. I just think this line is just so fishy here. And I'm really impressed with Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback for Cincinnati. Looked really good. I think that team is going to be tough at home. As I mentioned in that interview with Pete, I think that's the toughest game on Arizona's schedule the rest of the way, including at ASU. I think that is the one game in November in a cold atmosphere that I just don't see Arizona having a chance. And I could see that being an absolute blowout. And I've thought that all along. And now Cincinnati's showing us something. I think Cincinnati upsets Iowa State here. I think Iowa State's a little overrated. Speaking of upsets here, Baylor is 0-2 this season, Shane, at home against FBS teams. They lost at Auburn in week one, or at home against Auburn in week one, and they lost to ASU the other week. They are giving 6.5. You know that I gave you and Blair that whole dissertation about 6.5-point favorites not covering. We saw, I think, 2 out of 3 last week. Iowa State was the one team that did cover as a 6.5-point favorites, but Illinois against USC was getting 6.5, and look what happened. There was another one that I'm not mentioning as well. Baylor is minus 6.5 against Kansas State. I think the Wildcats upset them outright. Call me crazy.
No, I won on this one. So is K-State back? I think they might be. If nothing else, if nothing else, I agree with you. I think Baylor's getting too many points at home. I think K-State either wins or loses by less than a touchdown. So I'm with you on that one.
Let's go to Texas Tech. We talked about them. We both like them, as our Big 12 champion right now. They're giving 11.5 at an undefeated Houston team. Which way you going here?
Yeah, it's another really interesting one because you got a team that we thought was going to be good, but has looked really good with Texas Tech, and a team we thought would be better, but not this much better in Houston. Like two teams that are being better than most expected. Straight gut feeling is my head tells me that Tech covers, but my gut, which I'm going to go with, tells me Houston keeps it close. So I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to take Houston to lose by fewer than 11.5 points.
I think Texas Tech is the real deal and wins this game by 17. Colorado at TCU. Colorado kept BYU close. That was another 6.5-point line. That was the other one last week that the Colorado was close, lost by a field goal. TCU, inexplicably, I don't know what kind of crap that was against ASU. I mean, that was just bad after they got off to a great start. TCU's now given 13.5. I like TCU to win this game by 3 touchdowns here. I don't think Colorado's that good. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think TCU bounces back after a very frustrating loss at ASU, blowing a 17-point lead. I think this is a close game, maybe for 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters, but I think Josh Hoover and TCU blow it open late, and I think they find a way to cover.
Toughest game for me to pick this week. Kansas, 5.5-point favorites at UCF.
I'm going to take Kansas to rebound. I think that was a tough home loss to Cincinnati, and UCF's number 1 in the Big 12 in passing yards allowed. But I just think Jalen Daniels is going to have an outstanding game. I think KU wins by at least a touchdown.
I'm going with UCF here. I don't have a good reason for going with UCF. I was really unimpressed with Kansas. That's a game you cannot lose at home. Yeah. They are the epitome of a 6-6 team to me. Have to go on the road, and UCF's a little bit better than we thought they'd be this year in year 1 under Scott Frost coming back there to coach. So I'm going to I don't know if UCF is going to win the game outright, but I could see it being a 4-point game either way. And finally, Oklahoma State is traveling to Tucson. It's a noon game. It's on TNT. Kind of a strange line. Arizona minus 20.5, and Pete Mundo talked about it. When you see a 20.5-point line, it kind of, I feel like the odds makers are saying, hey, you think Oklahoma State stinks? Then go ahead and bet Arizona. And that line's not moving. And I'm going to give my pick first. I'm going to let you, because we all know what I'm going to pick. Arizona's going to win the game. It's going to be relatively sweat-free, but I would not lay the 20.5 points. I think Arizona wins this game 34-17. So stay away. You want to buy some points and bet Oklahoma State? That's fine. I just think that they will. I don't think Arizona's defense is going to play as well as they had the first 3 weeks of the season. I think Oklahoma State will get some, and the Wildcats will be 4-1 heading into their home game against BYU next week, which is a swing game for the rest of the 2025 season. Shane Dale, on to you here. I'm a little concerned what you're going to say about this pick.
All right, so Oklahoma State is last in the Big 12, not just in total yards allowed, but they're dead last in rushing yards allowed and passing yards allowed, both. Okay. They've only recorded 5 sacks. They're last in the Big 12 in third down conversions allowed. They allow 45% on third downs. There's no reason for Arizona to score at least 30 against Oklahoma State. But I think they might need at least 30 to win. Oklahoma State, they played some inspired football on offense last weekend against Baylor. It was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, like I mentioned in our previous segment. They didn't turn the ball over. Zane Flores didn't have a great game, but he didn't make a major mistake. The running game was efficient enough. I still like Arizona's defense, but I think this game is going to cause Danny Gonzalez some more anxiety, the kind of anxiety that began to accumulate at Iowa State. I don't think they fix all their problems in one game. I think it's going to be uncomfortable for at least 45 minutes, not just because of the heat. I certainly don't think Arizona's going to cover. I will pick them to win, but I'm going to pick them to win a very close game, 34-31. I still like the direction Arizona's headed, but I still think they have a lot of things to work out in the short term. We talk about short term versus long term. I still think this is a 6, maybe 7-win team. I just think there's going to be a little bit of a hangover from what they experienced in Ames. It's they have just a week to digest it, not a bye. So that is my concern. Now I will say I have picked against Arizona relative to the spread in all 5 games now this season, and I've gotten just one right, and that was last week. So keep that in mind. Please rub it in if I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, but I think it's going to be an uncomfortably close game.
You're right. The one time I did pick Arizona this year against the spread, they didn't cover. So I think I'm winless. I had a good run the other year when Arizona was winning all those games. I was picking them to cover, and they were making me a lot of money, and other people a lot of money. And this year, good luck when you bet Arizona games. But you and I are in agreement here. I think your score is a little close, though. I hope
so.
If Oklahoma State keeps it that close, we got problems, and we're gonna be panicking a little bit going into next week's Wildcat Country.
I hope I'm way off. Again, it's more just a gut, just like how I think this is going to go based on where both teams are at. I think Oklahoma State, at least on offense, I think they're going to play inspired. They're going to play loose, and I think I could give Arizona some problems. I think Arizona's going to find a way to win, but it's going to be a big pain in the butt.
Safe travels this weekend as you go domestically here in this country. I want to thank Pete Mundo from somewhere in the middle of the country, I think in the Kansas City area. In the Heartland, yes, of course, from heartlandsports.com for joining us. Heartland College Sports.com.
There you go.
For joining us here on Wildcat Country. So for Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening, and as always, bear down.